July 2020. The world was already coming apart at the seams on pandemic, lockdowns, protests. Everyone had something to be scared of. Lori Vallow was scared of something else entirely. She believed the world was ending. Not eventually, soon, weeks away. And she'd decided her 2 children weren't ready for what was coming. So she made a choice. Tylee Ryan, 16, her daughter from a previous marriage. JJ Vallow, 7, her adopted son, who had special needs. Both would be dead before that summer was over. And the man who helped her? Her new husband. Someone she'd known for all of 8 weeks. This is Lori Vallow's story. People call her the Doomsday Mother, and honestly, once you hear the details, it's hard to think of a better name for her. Lori wasn't always this. That's worth saying up front, because it matters for understanding how something like this happens. In 2018, she was a mother of 3 in Arizona, married to a man named Charles Vallow, active in her church, the kind of person who shared scripture, online and organized, play dates for the neighborhood, kids completely ordinary by most accounts. She'd always had an interest in the spiritual side of things, prophecy, the end times. Nothing unusual there. Plenty of people do. But then she met a man named Chad Daybell, an author who wrote books about near-death experiences and doomsday visions, and something in her shifted from interest into obsession. Daybell had been a gravedigger before he became a writer. He claimed to see the future. In his books, the apocalypse was always just around the corner, always close, always urgent. Lori read his work, reached out to him, eventually flew out to meet him at a conference. They fell for each other almost immediately. Both married, both with kids. Neither seemed to care. Within weeks, Lori was telling friends that her husband of 13 years had been taken over by something dark, that the man she'd married wasn't really there anymore, that what was left was, in her words, a kind of zombie. On July 11, 2019, Charles Vallow was shot dead in their home by Lori's brother, Alex Cox. Officially, it was ruled self-defense. Charles had supposedly turned violent. But for months beforehand, Lori had been telling people her husband was possessed. Charles was gone. Lori was free. And Chad Daybell was waiting for her. Chad's wife, Tammy, died on October 19, 2019. Officially, natural causes. She was 49, by all accounts healthy. And then suddenly she wasn't there anymore. 2 weeks later, Chad and Lori got married in Hawaii. No big ceremony, no family present, just the 2 of them on a beach, exchanging vows while, in their own telling, the world burned around them. And here's where this case stops being a typical murder story and becomes something I genuinely haven't seen the like of. They didn't just believe the end was coming. They believed they'd been chosen to survive it. They called themselves part of the Borifortan, a reference straight out of biblical apocalyptic literature, describing a group destined to be saved. They believed they had special abilities, that they could see dark spirits inhabiting people, that they had the power to cast that darkness out. And they believed some people weren't really people anymore at all. They called them zombies, bodies taken over by dark spirits, where the only way to free the real person trapped inside was to destroy the body itself. Lori's children, Tylee and JJ, became zombies. At least, that's the language she used with her friends. That's what showed up in her text messages. That's, apparently, what she genuinely believed when she made her decision. Tylee Ryan was last seen on September 8, 2019. She'd just moved with her mother and brother to Rexburg, Idaho, 16 years old. By everyone's account, full of life, helping settle the family into their new house. And then, gone. Lori told different people different stories. Tylee was at college. Tylee was with friends. Tylee was fine. She wasn't fine. She was already dead. JJ Vallow was last seen on September 23, 2019. 7 years old, autistic, nonverbal, entirely. Dependent on the adults around him for everything. Lori told his grandparents, who were frantically trying to reach him, that JJ was with a friend, that he was safe, that now just wasn't a good time to talk to him. He wasn't with a friend. He was dead too. For months after, Lori and Chad just carried on, traveled, shopped, posted online about their fresh start together. While 2 children were buried in Chad's backyard, the investigation only really got moving because of one grandmother who refused to let it go. Kay Woodcock, JJ's biological grandmother, kept calling, kept asking questions, kept demanding answers nobody wanted to give her. In November 2019, police in Rexburg performed a welfare check. The house was empty. Lori and Chad were gone. No sign of the kids anywhere. Lori had told police JJ was staying with a friend in Arizona. That Tylee was away at college. Neither was true. The friend in Arizona had no idea who JJ even was. The college had never heard the name Tylee. By the time anyone realized what was actually happening, Lori had vanished with her new husband, and her children were officially missing. She turned up in Hawaii in January 2020. A court ordered her to produce her children within 5 days. She didn't. Instead, she and Chad went to a beach resort, where they were photographed smiling and holding hands while 2 missing children dominated national headlines and an entire search effort. In February 2020, Lori was arrested, charged at that point only with desertion of a child. The children were still missing. On June 9, 2020, 9 months after Tylee vanished, 8 months after JJ, investigators finally searched Chad Daybell's property. They found Tylee first, near a fire pit, her remains burned and scattered across the property. Then JJ, wrapped in plastic, buried near a pond, his body partially preserved by the conditions of the burial. Both children had been in that backyard the entire time. Lori and Chad lived in the house above them, while they ate dinner, while they watched television, while they made plans for surviving an apocalypse that, as far as anyone can tell, only existed in their own heads. The autopsies confirmed what the burial sites already suggested. Tylee had been shot multiple times. JJ had been suffocated, a plastic bag placed over his head. Lori Vallow didn't just take her children's lives. The way it was done feels like it goes beyond that word. Lori was charged with first-degree murder. So was Chad. Both faced the possibility of the death penalty. Her defense leaned heavily on mental health and religious delusion, the argument being that she genuinely believed she was saving her children from something far worse than death. But the prosecution had text messages, emails, witness testimony, a documented trail of lies stretching across state lines and multiple deaths. Because Charles wasn't the only one. Lori's brother Alex Cox, the man who shot Charles, died suddenly himself in December 2019, officially a blood clot. Questions about that have never fully gone away. And Chad's first wife, Tammy, her body was later exhumed, and the cause of death was changed from natural causes to homicide by asphyxiation. 3 people dead, 2 children in a backyard, and a woman who, by every account, genuinely believed she was saving the world. Tylee was 16. JJ was 7. They should have gotten to grow up, make mistakes, fall in love, become whoever they were going to become. Instead, they became casualties of their mother's delusion. Collateral damage in a story she'd convinced herself was true. Lori Vallow believed the world was ending, so she ended theirs first. And the part that's hardest to sit with, by most accounts, she still believes she was right.